All right, this is the spot we're going to do. Hijack versus low jack 50 big blinds. If you've watched me play this spot before, you will have seen that I am not the greatest at it. I find it quite tough. So we're going to get involved. We're going to look at the ranges before we do anything else. Hijack 3-betting range. As you can see, there is a lot of mixing going on. I feel like the music's a little bit loud, but all right, let me turn it down ever so slightly. Is that better? Feels like that's a kind of nicer volume so we can still hear what's going on. Anyway, so this region of the deck here is going to mostly be flat calling at 50 big blinds, but there is a probably on average 20% 3-bet. So it's worth noting. Up here with the suited ace-x, we're mixing heavily between flat and check. Same with these offsuit premium broadways. And then the pairs are in this middling section mixing heavily, and then as we get lower down and higher up, we're becoming pure 3-bet. So, sorry, excuse me. Down here pure flat and up here pure 3-bet. I said that's slightly wrong. And then the flat calling range is going to look a little bit like this. Going to be calling with any of the pairs we open. So obviously folding pocket deuces pre. Don't know if I would do that, but apparently that's what you're meant to do. This suited region is going to make up the largest chunk of our range. So maybe we need to be on the lookout for some leads. I struggle to find them in 3-bet pots, but it's very possible that you'll see some of it. This region up here, we just don't have any of it. Don't have 10s plus. So let's see how we can get on. Spots like this, I mean, we're just going to be folding 6-7. You could go in and examine it if you really want to like get the best out of it. Like you could go in here, you can see, do we ever lead on king high boards? The answer is no. I would expect that always to be the answer. I don't think it's worth wasting your time. But if you want to, you can really get to the bottom of everything. Now, this could get more complicated. We are going to check. I think calling is going to be the best option. I think check raising and potentially folding this hand feels like a disaster. Now the question is whether we bluff. I don't think we do. We have the nut no pair. I don't think we can value bet either. We're just going to show it down. We're going to get excellent, excellent. It does do a little bit of raising on the flop. So top two, pure raise almost. Ace jack with a spade. Preferably the jack of spades. So the jack of spades, we're a little bit more willing to check raise and have to fold maybe, but for the most part, we are quite honest on this flop. This is the nut flush draw. This is a combo draw or a good shot. 10, 9 of diamonds is a kind of large portion of our bluffing range, to be honest. 8's obviously a set. 7, 6, a little bit with the flush draw. But we're not getting too out of line. Just better flop for them than us. And on this board, see, I would be tempted to bet 9-point tray on this board. I wouldn't even hate going all in, but I'm going to autopilot the 1/3. And then I want to look it up and see if the bigger bet comes in. So the way I would decide to play this spot would be I'd be all in with a spade and I'm going to call with a spade. Obviously not folding the turn, that would be crazy. They have king queen. And it is a mixed strategy on the flop of small bet or check. So there's no big betting going on. Queen 8-6 two-tone. As you can see here, it's pretty bad. Checking with queens, king queen, some ace queen. I probably don't really ever find this in game on this board, I'm not gonna lie. This stuff feels intuitive to me. A lot of checking going on though. It's a heavy check. Like, it's half the time we're checking on queen 8-6. I promise you right now, when you play a spot, you do not do that. And I just want to check what our calling strategy versus our all-in strategy is. As you can see here, kings with a spade we call, kings without a spade we don't call. That's going to be a very, very common pattern all across spots. Just holds up pretty strongly. Ace queen is going to be the same thing. We're going all in when we don't have a spade. We are just calling when we do have a spade. So this is just a pattern that you're going to see all the time, and it's just something that it will stick in your brain the longer you stare at these sims. So this is interesting. I'm not going to do any mergey betting. I'm just going to go for a check. I think anything other than calling here would be pretty tragic. And on the river, I would have called if they had a bet. So I'm interested to see, is it mostly a turn bet or where? Look at all that leading on the ace high boards. Not finding that. We are leading almost half the time. Again, I guarantee you, unless you are studying like a lunatic, for the most part, you are not finding this. Ace queen, ace jack, ace 10, ace 9, jack 10 leading, 9, 10 leading, half the time, 50 big blinds. See, this is wild carry on to me. So the reason we got to try and look at why are they doing this, look how heavy the check is from DTO on the flop. Look how much of their range they're checking. They're checking more than they're betting. I guarantee you, again, it's not happening. I would be interested if they had a 10% bet size, what the bot would elect to do then, because I tend to use very small bets here. Interesting. Feels like I should just play for stacks, but whether that's this or this. Could also just be a call with king jack of diamonds, but alright, it's happy with a shove. Prefers calling. I want to see here, would we be raising all in more often when we don't have the backdoor flush draw? Yes. That's what I would expect, because we can take more heat. Less disaster turns for us. King, queen of spades all in. Ace, jack. I would not find a call with ace, jack. Alright, look, we've got every hand right so far. If we could just keep this up, we'll be flying. 10, 5, deuce. A board where I would be tempted to find larger bets. But I know that, yeah, so there is a chunk of large betting on this board. 50% of the time we're betting large. This hand didn't make a huge amount of sense for me to bet big, but as you can see here, the usual suspects, the vulnerable overpairs that want as much chips in as quick as possible, are strong top pairs. Some hands like a6, a5. a7 I think you could argue is getting close to there, but they're not going to fold any of these hands with a backdoor flush draw anyway. Whereas this, like these hands can fold out like ace7, ace8, ace9. I'm not 100% sure, but anyway, we get it right. And on 10, 6, deuce. Am I about to get my first one wrong? Folding pairs and 3-bet pots. I do have 3 to a straight, which makes it a bit of a problem. Okay, we're fine. I thought it'd be a fold, but not just making sure. It does call sometimes, which obviously should translate so that you understand that with a spade, it's never going to be a fold. I think that goes without saying when there's 3 spades on the board. But even if there's 2 spades on the board, you would very rarely fold with the pair plus the backdoor flush draw. And here, probably a lot of checking on this board, but with top 2, we're just going to start betting. I think we would call every variation of ace-9 here. With the backdoor flush draw, it's almost certainly going to be a call, but I think we'd just be calling regardless. I went through a similar spot with Kev yesterday here, but I think I'm going to bet small. And we are obviously not folding. What? It likes checking the turn, likes betting small. I just want to check is there, there's no big betting, so heavy check. What the fuck? looking at that range, like our value shoving range is this. This is our only bluff. God. What? Excuse me? I cannot believe that you fold top 2. It's probably better to call without the 9 if they're only bluff, right? Like, we're probably better off calling ace king. Yeah. It doesn't want to have the 9 in its hand because that's where the bluffs get generated. See, this is what, when you break down and think about it, it's like, oh yeah, I've got 2 pair. But actually you're blocking the bluffs. So like these hands, ace king, ace queen, they're all calls, but having the 9 is an utter disaster. I just snap call, but like when you actually break it down and think about it, it is a bit of a disaster. Ace jack 6. I would imagine that we get the bet here a lot, but I'm gonna check. No, okay. These ones in the middle, 10s just benefit too much from getting folds right now. All right. I thought it would be, there is a small bit of checking as you can see there. I thought there'd be, I thought there'd be a little bit more like this. I thought kings would be a heavier check, queens would be a heavier check, jacks, and then it would slide in with the 10s, but not in this case. All right, we are going to play another 10 minutes or so, and here we're just check folding. Get it out of my sight. I think king queen is going to be a check call. Yep. I might want to use a small size in here. As you can see, it likes checking a lot on the flop. It is check raising the vast majority of the time with king queen. Mixes in a call a little bit. There's a lot of calling with ace. Oh, sorry, ace queen's not top pair. Excuse me. I think it was a queen eye board. Obviously, we know we want to check these ace high boards a decent chunk, but this one feels almost too good for me, but I am going to check. Because if you're going to check a hand, it's going to be this one. I'm going to call 1 and hate life. They bluffed me with 8s. They got me. As you can see, there is checking with kings, but ace queen 9 is just like a board that's just so good for us that I thought it might be a bet, but still a 31% check, which is pretty substantial. I guarantee you we're not finding this. King 10, checking, range. No, sorry, not range. Pure, 100% of the time. After you 3-bet it and you get an ace queen 9 board, stop that right now. Come on. All right. It's going to be a fold. I think it would be a fold against a smaller size. I actually want to check how often they're using their bigger size. So look at this. We found a board. King, jack, tray. Look at all that big betting. Ace 5, ace 4, ace 7, pocket 7s, pocket 8s. We're betting large. Half pot on the flop. Obviously, these are the value hands that you're going to see it with quite frequently, but I think it's nice to see where the bluffs are coming from. 8s, 7s. Again, folding out better ace highs with a large bet here. It's very efficient. Not so efficient with ace queen. You don't want to, you want people to continue with worse backdoor flush draw ace highs, right? Okay. I'm just going to bet. We're going to fold. I want to see if this is range because I would bet range small here. Yeah, it is. Okay. Just making sure. Sometimes you just want to brush up. Make sure you haven't misunderstood a spot. Queen 10 tray. If you're going to check when it's right up there. And on that turn, I think we're just playing for stacks. 66% check, 34% bet. Look at all that checking. Again, we do not check this much in 3-bet pots in position. None of us do. None of us at all. An incredible amount of checking. We're checking 10s. Checking a set, boys and girls. We're 50 big blinds deep and we're checking sets in 3-bet pots. Behave. You stop that right now. We're going to bet. It's going to be fine. There's going to be some checking as well, I think. Feels very close on the river. Alright, there is checking on the flop. I finally flew through that hand. 41% check. 41% check. Ace queen tray in position. None of us are doing it. Just want to see what the worst hand we're shoving for value is. Ace king. We bluffed tens. I don't think I would have found a call on the flop with tens when they raised. Torino says, I hate when I get an inaccuracy for calling the winning hand on the river. I own. Give me the full points. I just want to check. So is tens pure call? No, okay. So it's pure bluff, but this is why sometimes you need to... Sorry, not here. But like on the river, sometimes it makes sense. See the way here we are all in? And it's like, oh, tens is pure. But like you need to go to absolute and you need to see how often you have tens. Look at that. Do you see that tiny bit of tens? You see that? It's nothing. It's 0.2 combos. We barely have it. Ace king up here. We probably just have too much ace 10 after checking the turn to... Yeah, look, we have a lot of ace 10. To shove it all the time. Alright, so absolute's a good way to look at it, but just don't get confused on rivers when you see hands like that. I'm going to start betting. The question is what size? I'm going to go small. Pure check. Ah, come on. I hate when it's a 50-50 play and it's just like because they have the spade we check. Well, what good is the 8 of spades on ace queen jack, Dobby boy? Let me bet my hand and put 50 big blinds in by the river and stare them in the white of the eyes and see how much they still want to play this poker tournament. How does that sound? We are going to start with a check call. We are not going to lead, but it might be a thing. I'm going to make them bluff the river. And let me tell you right now that their bluff is going to work. Just want to check. So, flop, it's pure call, as you can see up here. Turn, we are folding some. Sorry, we're leading a lot. Look, so let's look at the strategy and try and explain why you want to lead here. DTO on the flop. Only checking 6% of the time. A lot of their reasonable hands want to go into the larger size. Like, look at that. Aces, kings, queens, king, jack. All of those hands are in there. And then we have a lot of... don't get me wrong, we still have good hands in the small bet. And it's the predominant strategy. But we have a lot of garbage. Like, we have... Sorry, let's click this. We have all these ace highs. We have these king highs. We have some of these pairs, blah, 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 right? So we see bet all that, but then we look at what we call. So this is what we call. It's a lot stronger than what they're c-betting, right? Therefore, when the jack comes in on the turn, we have a reasonable range advantage shift towards us. Now, I'm not 100% sure what percentage it would be in the spot, obviously, but when the jack repeats and we've called a 3-bet pre-flop, then called the c-bet on the flop, like this tends to, I think, shift the equity quite high in our favor, and that's why we want to start leading some of these turns. How are we going to bluff it? Some king 9. Again, you just want to sometimes look at this in absolute because we don't actually have a lot of that. You want to see where the leading is coming from. King 9's not really a thing, so that's why this can be misleading, because like, yeah, we have king 9 occasionally, but it's not really part of our strategy if you go in here and look. So these king queens, king jacks, these ace 10s, but it's more for just protection with these pairs is why we're doing it. A little bit of bluffing with 7-6, 6-5. It's just worth noting that we don't have king 9 that much. So you might see this, you're like, oh my god, I gotta get here with king 9, I gotta start leading. No, behave. Look at it properly. All right. I don't know. I feel like we've been doing okay so far. Yeah, I was on 50 something. We're up above average. But again, this is like one of my lowest percentages that we've had on DTO. feel like the spots we've been doing lately, we've been getting a little bit wrecked. I'm folding without a diamond. Just want to make sure that calling with a diamond would be reasonable. As you can see here, that's ace queen of diamonds, sorry. Yeah, we're a lot stickier with a diamond. Without a diamond, it's just 0% continue. With a diamond, it is mixes around the place. Some of that is going to be in here with a raise, but not a huge amount. As you can see, some of it falls in there when we have the ace of diamonds. More so than the queen of diamonds. This would be interesting. I'm just going to call. I don't think check raise getting this in is going to make a whole lot of sense. How many chips is my hand worth? It feels like it's worth quite a few. Half pot just feels awkward though. Can I go all in when I check the turn? Kind of tempted to go all in. I just like the block. No all in on this river. They do have this size, but ace 10 doesn't fall into it. King X. Are they bluffs? They're surely bluffs, right? That is some gangster stuff to bluff with these hands. I would not find that at all. Not one little bit. All right, let's do a couple more, and then we'll be done. I'm just gonna try and show it down. I honestly don't fancy my chances of winning here. I'm gonna fold. Congratulations, Queen 10. They found a bluff, and here I think we're gonna be check raising. We're gonna be winning. All right, let's go until we get one wrong. This should be an auto fold, I think, without a spade. Don't be too tight. Okay. Just want to make sure that we are calling when we have a spade. Almost certainly will be. As you can see, the only reason that some of this is not looking like it's a defend is because it's going to be raised down here, right? But yeah, again, without the spade, the pattern just continues every time. Ooh, could we have led here? I am going to continue. Wondering if I could ever bluff raise. Will we try it? I don't really want it to be my last hand, but what are we going to bluff raise with here? Like, what's better to bluff raise with here? Obviously, there's some 6-7 suited. Do you know what? I kind of like it. Wrong! How do we raise here as a bluff? Yeah, just 7-6 suited. It has 6-5 of spades, but that's obviously with a flush draw. 7-6 suited with and without a flush draw, backdoor spades. A little bit of 4-4 and 3-3. I would not much of that. I would use these sometimes for sure. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that spot. If we get any 50 big blind hijack versus low jack spots today, I will be more than ready in this day 2.